pray that as we go through the study today, that we would do so in a manner that's pleasing to you, that we would glean the things from your word that you would have us to learn. We can apply them to our lives and we can grow closer to you. Father, we're thankful for Jesus. We're thankful for his example. We're thankful for his death upon the cross and for his resurrection 3 days later and that hope of heaven that we now have. It's in his name we pray. Amen. Take your Bible, turn to Genesis chapter 44. I want to talk about, it's one of my favorite stories in the Old Testament. I got really fortunate several weeks ago, probably now a couple of months ago. I was asked to speak at a place, and they gave me a topic. And, you know, if you've ever, you got to know that when you're asked to speak somewhere and they give you a topic, it is like a roll of the dice. You have no idea. They could give you something that's awesome and really easy to teach on, or they could give you the handcuffs and you'd be like, I have no idea what to do with this. And I've been in both situations. I've been in those situations where they're like, you know, Scott, we'd like for you to talk about, and they give you a fill in the blank and you go, I have no idea where to start. I don't even know what does that mean? And then there's other times where like this, they gave me Joseph. And I love the story of Joseph. I absolutely love the story of Joseph. And one of my favorite parts of the story of Joseph is when his brothers come to visit in Egypt. I love that part of the story. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at Joseph and his brothers. It'll be a one-off. It'll be a one-time only, and then we'll get back to Isaiah next week. But I love this story, and so Alex was like, why don't you just do kind of whatever you want to do? And I thought, I know exactly what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about Joseph. Before I do that, here's something that I forgot to tell you. All right, y'all know our little buddy Cole Kelly, right? That we prayed for and prayed for and prayed for. Okay, so Cole's been just rolling along. Life is great. Every doctor's visit is wonderful. Until about 3 days ago. All of a sudden, he was feeling awful and sick and nasty, and they didn't understand why, and they were worried and scared, and they rushed him to the ER. Mama sat up with him all night. He was sick at his stomach, and he wasn't feeling good. And he was looking all pale, and they were like, oh, my goodness, something terrible's happened. They did blood work, and here's what they found. He had picked up and handled a turtle and had got salmonella from the turtle. So here his mama was, all tore up, worried, didn't know what was going on, worried that something had happened, and now we're going to go right back there. And all it was is the boy had picked up a turtle and then licked his hand and had contracted salmonella. So they're back home. He's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with him. He's out running in the yard. She was like, of all things, that for that little boy, any little boy, that's fine. And you go, oh, bless his heart, and he's back on the road. But for that boy, he starts getting sick, and you start going, oh, my goodness. What? And it was, no, Mama, he picked up a turtle and then touched his face and got salmonella. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you because we found that extremely humorous of all things for that little boy. He picked up a turtle. So anyway, he's all well and good, but I wanted to share that with y'all because I just found it humorous that of all the things for that little kid to get sick by, it's a turtle. Okay, Genesis chapter 44. All right, so let me ask you a couple of questions to start with, just for you to think about as we go through this. You know the story of Joseph. You know that Joseph is sold by his brothers into slavery. You know that Joseph winds up in Egypt. He winds up in Potiphar's house. He's such a trustworthy kid, and he's literally a kid at that point. Potiphar says, look, I'm gonna kind of let you have some leadership role here. I'm going to let you kind of take over and do some things and take care of the house and the things in it. And unfortunately, one of the things in it was his wife. And she looked at Joseph and she liked what she saw, and she wanted Joseph to come lay down in the bed with her. And Joseph said, I'm not going to do that. That goes against everything that I believe and everything I've been taught. I'm not going to do that. And you know what happens next. She sets him up basically to be framed for committing adultery with Potiphar's wife. And they throw him in jail. You know what happens in jail. He tells these two dreams and interprets these two dreams. And he tells the cupbearer, hey, when you get back, you're going back to where you were. And when you get there, please pass along to the Pharaoh that I was the one that helped you so that maybe he'll have mercy on me and get me out of here. And y'all know the cupbearer did what? Forgot all about it. Forgot all about it. Just let him sit down there. And then all of a sudden, oh, yeah. there was this guy, he interpreted dreams, and it was Wright. So let's go get him. And that leads to Joseph becoming this very, very powerful man in Egypt, second in command. Now, I want you to think about that just for a second. Because if I was Joseph, I'd have a hard time not having a really big ego. I don't know how you feel about that, but I would have a hard time not being full of myself.
We know that.
Yeah, I was going to say, even worse than I am now, right? I'd have a hard time not having the big head, right? Because y'all sold me into slavery, and I became the leader of Potiphar's house. I got thrown in jail, and now I'm the second most powerful man in Egypt, which at that point is perhaps the most powerful nation in the entire world. And I'm second in command, and I'm not even from here. It'd be a hard thing not to be really full of yourself, and Joseph's not. Which goes back to all the way back. You remember when he was telling his dad about the dreams he was having. You remember what did his dad say to him? Oh, great, son, that's wonderful. You got no. What did his dad say? Who are you? You think that I'm going to bow down to you and your brothers are going to bow down? Who are you? And you look back at that and you think, well, Joseph wasn't trying to be arrogant. He was legitimately sharing with you an incredible thing that God was going to make happen. And now here we are in Genesis 44, and God's going to literally make it happen physically in front of him. Okay, so you get to Genesis 44. All right, we've already kind of moved on past. We've got the background is in 42 and 43. You understand that the brothers are running out of food at home. There's a famine going on. They don't have enough food. It says, hey, go to Egypt. Those guys have got food for days. Go up to Egypt and go up there and beg them to give you some food. All right, so you get to 43. Let's go to 43 real quick. Back up one page. 43. And you start with verse 1, and you get this really interesting dialogue. And we don't have time to read all of it, but I do think it's interesting. You get to verse 3, Judah, 43, verse 3, chapter 43, verse 3. Judah said to him, talking about their father, the man, Joseph, solemnly warned us, saying, you will not see my face unless your brother is with you. Now, which brother is he talking about? The Benjamin, right? The littlest one, right? Joseph said, you bring him or else you get nothing. Okay, now, verse 4, if you will send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, you will not see my face unless your brother is with you. Israel said, why did you treat me so badly as to tell the man that you had another brother? I've always found that interesting. Israel's response is not, okay, I'll let you go, or no, that's not going to happen. We know that's ultimately where he's going to land, is I just don't want him going. But it's interesting to me that his first response in verse 6 is, why did you tell him that you had another brother?
He asked him.
There's a clue there, right? I love this story for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is it's just a beautiful, well-told story, period. There's these little clues and things in there about who Joseph really is, and the brothers don't pick up on them. This is one of them. Why did you tell him that you had another brother? Verse 7, they replied, the man questioned us carefully about ourselves and our kindred, saying, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? Now, I want you to pause right there. And I want you to go back to Genesis 35 really quickly, just for a second. I want to make a point here. Again, I love this story for a lot of reasons, because of the detail that's there, because of some of these little clues and things. Genesis 35, we're going to do a little page turning here for a second, so bear with me. Genesis 35, verse 19. Actually, go to verse 18. As her, talking about Rachel, as her soul was departing, for she was dying, she called his name Ben-Oni, but his father called him what? Benjamin, right? Verse 19, so Rachel died, and she was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a pillar over her tomb. It's the pillar of Rachel's tomb, which is there to this day. Okay, that's Genesis 35, verses 18, 19, and 20, okay? I want you to turn one page. In my Bible, it's one page. To Genesis 37. Okay? Now, nothing is in the Bible by coincidence or by accident. Everything is there on purpose. The way things are written matters. The way things are worded matters. Genesis 37. Okay? Look at verse 5. Joseph had a dream. When he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, hear this dream that I have dreamed. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field. Behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright. Behold, your sheaves gathered around it and bowed down to my sheaf. His brothers said to him, are you indeed to reign over us, or are you indeed to rule over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Here's the part I want you to pick up on, verse 9. Then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me. I want you to pay attention to the wording. In his dream, how many people do you see there? 11 stars plus sun and, okay. His father rebuked him, verse 10, and said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and who? Who's his mother? Who is Joseph's mother? Rachel, right? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you? Now wait a minute. Is it possible, and I know the answer to this, so do you, is it possible that Genesis 37 takes place before Genesis 35 and verse 19? The answer is yes.
Say that again.
Genesis 37 takes place before Genesis 35 and 19. Now remember, this is not being written live action. This is not being like, okay, this is not being recorded with a video camera, and as things happen, they write it down. You remember, Moses is writing this down postscript, right? After it happened, Moses is going back and telling these stories, pen to paper, long after they happened. So here's what the Bible is kind of known for. A lot of these Old Testament passages would go on and finish a particular person's life and then tell the rest of their story. You would get things like so-and-so lived this many days, had this many children, and then died at such and such day. And then they'll pick up with a story. That's what happens right here in Genesis 35. We're told the end of Rachel is the birth of Benjamin. Correct? Correct? Okay. Now, what's awesome is how many boys or how many children did Joseph mention in the dream? 11. Joseph would be number 12 in the story, right? Benjamin is the actual number 12 chronologically, but in Joseph's story, they're bowing down to him. There's 11 stars, a mom, and a dad. I love this because it opens the door for a really fascinating discussion about whether or not Joseph even knew Benjamin at all or very well at all. So Joseph asks about a boy or asks about a child that he doesn't even really know. How old is Joseph when he's sold into slavery? He's a kid, right? He's a baby. I mean, he's 17, and that don't seem as, it seems like a baby to me now. A while back, it didn't seem like a baby. It seemed like a grown man at 17, but he was a baby. 17's a baby. Do we know? Go ahead.
What about age 33? When you 30 to 33, when you become a man at that time?
At that time, yeah, you hit 30 and you were kind of respected as a man at that point in their culture. But yeah, Joseph's 17 when he's sold into slavery. Benjamin's how old? Anybody know? I don't know exactly how old he is. We're not told when he's sold into slavery. But in all likelihood, I say it that way because I have the right to be wrong just like anybody. In all likelihood, Benjamin is a small, small child when Joseph is sold into slavery. And Jacob is at home tending to the baby. Or helping, not tending to the baby, but helping. Now, the reason why I bring that up, and if somebody wants to take umbrage with me on that, that's cool. That's fine with me. I found that to be truly fascinating. Joseph asks about a kid that he doesn't even really know. But he knows what God told him, doesn't he? He knows what he dreamed, and he knows what God told him, and you know that the wheels are turning. In my dream, there was 11. In my dream, now does he know? Here's my other question. I'm legitimately asking this question. I don't know, but I know the answer to this. Is Joseph aware of Rachel's death? Is he aware of Benjamin's birth? See, those things go hand in hand, right? Because 35 tells us she died in birth. So does he know about those things? Is he aware of those things? When they sell him into slavery, is he aware that his mom is already dead? These are things that I'm trying to work in my brain.
Well, I just figured told him, send him a message there. Yes.
You would think that he figures it out at some point, but there is something that happens. We're going to get to this in just a minute. When he gets to Benjamin showing up, something happens to Joseph when he sees Benjamin the first time. He's been able to kind of play this game with those other boys. You know, y'all come up here and bow down to me, and I'm going to give you some food, and then I'm going to put this in there, and I'm going to hide this in there, and then y'all are going to ride home, and one of y'all's got to stay behind. He's been able to sort of do that with them until Benjamin shows up. And then something happens to him. He emotionally can't handle seeing Benjamin, which tells me there's something more there than even with these other boys. Because these other boys show up and he's kind of having fun with them, you know?
Benjamin went with him when they do
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. That's why my question is, I'm wondering how much Joseph even knew about Benjamin. Did he know him as a toddler? Did he know him as a baby? Did he know him at all? I had a gentleman, Lonnie Jones. I don't know if y'all know Lonnie. Lonnie does a lot of speaking. He's a really good speaker. Lonnie came and spoke for us, a little congregation where I was working at the time, and his comment was, he said, I don't know that Joseph even knew about Benjamin at all. He said, based on my study, I don't know that Joseph even knew about him at all. He was asking, are there any more kids? Wondering if his dad had any more children and didn't know. And that in his summation, he said, I believe that's why Joseph had such a harsh reaction when Benjamin shows up, just that breakdown. Because to him, that represented, look at what I've missed. I've been gone so long, look at what I missed. Go ahead. Fix what I said.
I don't think that Paul is about to get to it. About Benjamin, like his own real school.
Exactly. Exactly. Now think about that for a second. Let that sit in. Those other 10 boys, any of them, they're blood related to him, kind of, right? Same daddy, different mom. So they're half brothers. There's one that is same daddy, same mama. And theoretically, it's the one he's either seen, but maybe as a very small baby or maybe as a toddler. He hasn't spent any time with that boy. You think about how long he's been gone at this point. He's been gone a while. He's been gone a long time. And now here's this. He's not really, he's a boy, I guess, still, but he's not the same, little bitty baby or toddler. Anyway, I find that really honestly, there's a reaction that comes from Joseph when Benjamin shows up that I find fascinating because he doesn't have it with anybody else.
I'm a little bit of a remembrance of the love for his mother.
Sure. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. When he sees Benjamin, he sees his mama. You think about that.
What they look like.
Yeah. Physical characteristics probably very similar. They probably looked alike. But now Joseph has all the trappings of the Egyptian dress up, And so now that's got to be hard for him, right? Just kind of sort of try to put yourself in his sandals for a second. He was supposed to grow up like those boys. And now he's grown up and he's become this powerful Egyptian with all the trimmings. And Benjamin shows up, and Benjamin is literally like looking in a mirror however many years ago. That's what I was when y'all got rid of me. y'all didn't want me around, and that's what I was, and y'all threw me away, and this is what I am now, and I wish I could go back to be, I mean, man, can you imagine how hard that was? Woo. Yeah, go ahead.
This don't answer the question of whether he knew about it or not. He was accusing them of being spies, in verse 42 and verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
They tell him there's, there were 12 brothers and one is no more.
There it is.
It's still with my father, their father.
Listen to the lie that they drop on Joseph. Verse 13, chapter 42.
How was Benjamin at this time?
How old's Benjamin? Wendell, do we know?
I just wonder.
You got to think he was, okay, so Joseph sold into slavery at 17. You start doing some math, you're looking at least probably 10 to 15 years, I would say, maybe, between the time he sold into slavery and now. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. That's a total guess.
That's the age. That's when he was sold in slavery.
Yeah, so you got to think he's getting close to that same age that Joseph was sold into slavery, which is 17. So Benjamin's a teenager probably. So, I mean, he's literally, it's like looking into the past. I mean, he's looking into his own face, it seems like. But yeah, you look at 42 and verse 13, and they keep up the lie.
So Benjamin had a different father than what Joseph had. No.
Benjamin's got the same daddy, same mama. That's his only real brother.
Yeah.
Joseph and Benjamin have the same daddy and the same mama. The other 10 have got a different mama, same daddy, different mama. They're half brothers. But Joseph and Benjamin, they are blood. I mean, as blood can be. So that's why I'm telling you, that's why that reaction is guttural. I mean, it's unexpected, even for him. You know, he's planning on keeping this sort of charade going, you know, kind of messing with them. And I don't know that he's doing it for revenge's sake or if he's just doing it because, hey, you know, I'm kind of getting a dig in at him. But when Benjamin shows up, all that stops.
Well, he's also trying to determine what kind of man they have become.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still treacherous, unruly, and unrighteous? Or have they tried to develop like sons of Jacob?
Yeah, have they matured any? Are y'all the same bunch of folks that sold me into slavery, or have y'all grown up? Because that's going to be big for him, right? I got to know whether or not I can even tell you who I am, because I don't think I can trust you.
Trust,
Yeah. Well, you get to that 42:13, man, and he says he wants to kind of know a little bit about them, and their response is, and he calls them out and says, no, you guys came up here to see how broke down all the land is. That's what y'all came up here to see, which is his way of just kind of needling them. And 13, chapter 42, verse 13, they said, we, your servants, are 12 brothers. Okay? And think about this, 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is no more.
He says that again in verse 32, or they do.
Yep. You imagine being Joseph? Ooh, I'd want to snap. But tell me I'm no more. Ooh. That set me off. We're 12 brothers from the land of Canaan, the sons of one man. That's right. Amen. One is with our father. Now, wait a minute. Hold on. So there's another one, right? So if he didn't know about him, there's the light bulb. He knows now. If he did know about him, he's proud to think, hey, my brother is still alive. My blood brother is still alive. And then they say, and one is no more. And you can put yourself there. Joseph is thinking, I'm right here. It got me to thinking about, okay, I got two brothers.
Hey, yes, I am.
Yeah, you wonder why he didn't go, hold up.
It also says in verse 9, before verse 13, the same chapter, Joseph remembered the dreams which he had about them.
Why did he remember them?
He recognized his brothers.
He saw those boys come in and he thought, I know you people.
And of course, they bowed down.
Hey, don't you know, Joseph? That's why I said it'd be hard not to have that ego. When them boys come in and bow down before him, don't you know Joseph's like, I told y'all. I told y'all were going to bow down in front of me. But he didn't. He's got way more humility and way more patience than I do. But man, when you get into this,
He was a rare
no doubt.
person.
You want to talk about the
This guy
definition
was
of diamond in the rough? Yeah, he's a diamond in the rough.
Even after everything had happened to him, one thing after the other. But later on, he tells them, the Lord sent me here
Yeah.
for this purpose.
And how many of us have that attitude? I don't. If I'm going through something tough, I'm wondering why God put me here. Why'd you do this to me? Why'd you put me in this spot? And Joseph was like, well, I know he did for me to do something good. I got to find a way to do something good while I'm here. It's a challenge. I'm telling you, it's a challenge. But yeah, you get into that 42 there and you get, his whole, I demand that you bring the youngest back to me. You get Israel's response in 43. Why did you treat me so badly as to tell him that there was another kid? Verse 8 of chapter 43. This is where you get Judah trying to take a little bit of a leadership role. He says, send the boy with me. We will arise and go that we may live and not die, both we and you and also our little ones. I will be a pledge of his safety from my hand. You shall require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. If we had not delayed, we would now have returned twice. The boys are determined to get food. We've got to have food or we're going to all die. And I'm not saying Judah's upset with Israel, but Judah's kind of not understanding. We need food or we're all going to die, and you're not going to let this little boy go with me. Look, I'll tell you what, you put him in my hand, I'll make sure he gets there and back, and if I don't, then I'll bear the blame the rest of my life. Now, here's what I find interesting about that. They were all in on putting blood on the coat of many colors and taking it back to Jacob, right? All of them were in on it. And we're going to tell him that a wild animal killed him. Actually, they don't even say that, do they? They don't say that it killed him, do they? That's exactly right. They show him that bloody garment. They go, look what happened. Why did they do it that way?
Emotionally.
And they knew they didn't want to lie. Lying to your daddy was like right up there at the top of the list of things you just don't do. So we won't lie to him. Y'all ever heard of plausible deniability? Y'all know what that is? Plausible deniability? That is, I know, you know that I know, but I don't give it away that I know. I leave just enough wiggle room that I can get out of it. If anybody were to bring charges, I can be like, wow. I don't know. Our government, they are like top notch at this. Listen to press conferences. They'll be asked a direct question, and what will they do? They'll go way around the answer, never get to the answer. And the whole point is, I'm going to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk till you forget that you asked me the question. That's kind of what these boys did. They showed up with this coat of many colors, had blood all over it. These 10 boys did. And they're like, look what happened. What did Jacob do? Wild animal killed my kid. And they didn't correct him. They just kind of were like, yeah, well, look what happened. Well, so here you have Judah's like,
Did you notice that? And he says, we found this. It's his, and I mean, it's an ornamented, I don't think that the strappy bathrobe thing is not right. It's ornamented with the gold thread, like
that's right,
royal.
That's right.
And
it was unique.
Yes, and it's this real?
Jacob, look at what we found. Could this be his? Well, of course it's his. But these boys, they've sold this bill of goods for so long, they legitimately don't really have any other story to tell. So even they're standing face to face with Joseph in 42, they keep telling the same story. One of us is no more. In 43, you've got Judah that says, look, I understand not lying to your daddy better than anybody else maybe. And I'm telling you, you put this boy with me and nothing's going to happen to him. Okay, now, I'm trying to do this all in one lesson, and this is probably going to end up biting me, but we're going to try to get there.
Can I throw out a couple things real quick?
Come on.
You asked if he knew his mother was dead. I don't know, but verse 27 of 43,
Mm-hmm.
he asked his brother, he asked about their father. He doesn't ask about.
Doesn't ask about the mother.
And in the very next verse, at the end of it, they bowed down in homage. The dream definitely has come true.
Absolutely. Now look at 29. Read 29.
As he lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son,
There you go.
he said, "Is this your youngest brother of whom you spoke to me?"
That's when there's something happens right then.
What was the reading from?
43:29. 43:29. Something happens when he lifts those eyes up. Those boys are bowed down in front of him. And there's probably a moment, this is me guessing, okay? I'm putting this out there. This is me. This is Scott's opinion. There's a moment where he kind of swells with pride, like, yeah, this is exactly what God told me was going to happen, and it's happening. And then he sees Benjamin, and everything changes. Everything changes. Because what happens in verse 30? Chapter 43, verse 30, what happens?
He went out from him and he wept.
This is not the same guy. It's not the same guy from the last several times he stood in front of them. It's not the same guy. The other guy has stood in front of them for who knows how long, talking with them, asking them questions, demanding things, making them do things. This guy's different. Verse 30 is a different person.
It's not fun anymore.
No, it's not fun anymore. It was fun when I could kind of gouge them a little bit. It was fun when I could send some food back with them, but I could do it in a way that would make them have to question my motives. It was kind of fun. This isn't fun anymore.
But then, and he saw the brother that had nothing to do with what had
Nothing to
already
do with it.
happened.
That's right. U10, I kind of have, it's been, this one is different. And it's because like I said, there's nothing in the Bible by accident. I think it's that little phrase right there in 29. He lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. It's that realization that this is the only one that's really fully my brother. These 10 are my half-brothers, and maybe he cares for them in a different way. I don't know. But for Benjamin, there's something, and all those emotions, you got to think about all those emotions of, I didn't get to see him grow up. I didn't get to see him do these things and that and this and that and the other. And I didn't get to be with my mom when she died. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Either way, I didn't get to be with mom. I didn't get to do this. I didn't get to do this. And now here's this boy. He represents everything I didn't get to do for the last however many years. I'm supposed to be one of y'all.
They gave him 2 pieces of pie, the rest of them ate 1 piece.
That's right. He's just sitting there going, hey, all those emotions hit him at once. That's why he's got to run out of the room. It's that real, go ahead.
Why was it that sound him into slavery? What was the reason there?
Because they hated him. Daddy loved him more, gave him the coat of many colors and all that. And
Yes, okay.
Joseph keeps coming back with these dreams about they're going to bow down, and they just hate his guts.
37:11 says his brothers were jealous of him.
Yeah. And they were going, their plan was to kill him. They were so mad and angry at him, they were going to kill him. And they decided, well, let's not do that. Let's throw him in this pit. Let's all go off. And what was the plan for Reuben? What was Reuben going to do? Reuben's going to come back and do what? Get him out of there.
He was going to save him.
He was going to save him. Oldest brother, firstborn, was going to go back and get Joseph out of the pit now that everybody cooled off. Let everybody cool off a minute. Fine, y'all throw him in the pit. Reuben's in there throwing him in the pit too. Don't think he wasn't. But Reuben's plan was, once everybody cools off, I'm going to go get this boy out of this pit. I'm going to talk to him. And we're going to straighten all this out. We're going to calm all this down. And when he goes back, guess what's happened? They've sold him into slavery. Man, it's been who knows how long, maybe 15 years or so. Joseph's maybe a 30-year-old man, maybe even older than that. We don't know for sure.
37:4 says his brothers hated him because Joseph loved him more than he loved him.
Yeah, Daddy loved him more,
That's
and
why
they could
hated
tell. And man, when you get to this 43 and 30, and he sees Benjamin and he falls apart, Then you get to this awesome, and I got to hurry if I'm going to get done. And I'm not going to get done. So I'm just telling myself that. So I'm not going to get done, but that's okay. You get to 31, verse 31, chapter 43. He washed his face. He came out and controlling himself. I've always thought that was interesting. He's now it's not. Okay, so when you walk into a room, you have sort of a natural way of dealing with people. It just comes naturally. Some people are extroverts. Some people are introverts. I don't know if you know this. I'm a little bit of an extrovert, just a little. I like to be loud and I like to talk to people. It's just something that I do. Well, a lot of people don't know Rachel is very much an introvert. Even though she does talk to people, it's a struggle for her. She has to make herself do that. For me, it's natural. It's unnatural for me to sit down and be quiet. My mom can tell you stories of how it was unnatural for me to sit down and be quiet. But for Rachel, that's not easy. It's something she has to make herself do, okay? That's the picture you need to get here with Joseph in 31, verse 31, is he's having to control himself. What he wants to do is he wants to snatch up Benjamin and he wants to love on that boy. He wants to have this breakdown, but he's got to try to keep this facade.
His role. He's playing a role.
He
He
is.
is an Egyptian monarch.
And
I
he
mean,
is-
he has to have a certain.
He is desperate to keep that up because there's a lot of eyes watching him. And not just those 10 boys in Benjamin. There's a lot of Egyptian eyes watching him. And he knows that. So that's why there, again, nothing in there by accident. Controlling himself, he said, serving the food. I know what I want to do, but I can't do that right now. So he has to make himself do that. They served him by himself and them by themselves. The Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews, that's an abomination to the Egyptians. Verse 33, they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, the youngest according to his youth. The men looked at one another in amazement. Portions were taken to them from Joseph's table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. They drank and were merry with him. They have a party. It's a party. Then you get to 44. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I think that Joseph said, this is how I want to put there. And that had nothing to do with coincidence.
You know he did it on purpose. You put them Hebrews, and I want the oldest to the youngest. And then here's what I want y'all to do. I want y'all to take the best food off of my table, and I want you to offer it to them down the line. But when you get to that baby boy, you give him 5 times as much as them other 10. What do you reckon some of them 10 were doing? Looking down there going, what in the world? Again, you notice these little clues, right? These little clues about the story, about how this is rolling out. There's all these little bitty pieces of the puzzle. And I'm not mocking those 10 boys, because why would they assume that Joseph is standing in front of them? That would make no sense to them. For Joseph to be that position of power, they'd have no reason to know that it's him.
He's dead.
As far as they know, he's dead. These guys they sold him into slavery to, if they didn't get what they wanted out of you, they just killed you and picked up somebody else. So in their eyes, he's dead and gone anyway. We haven't heard anything from him. So there's no reason for them to assume that that's Joseph. And yet there's all these little clues, right? He asks about their daddy. Why would a man in that kind of power, why would an Egyptian monarch be asking some grubby old Hebrews about their dad? That don't make any sense. Why would he be asking them, is there another child? Like, there's all these little clues. But bless their hearts, and again, I'm not mocking them. I'm just saying there's all these little clues that they don't pick up on.
You know, Scott, it's just overwhelming when I think about how the dreams did take place at just as we read, how all of these boys were now bowing down to their brother. And yeah, it is so similar to what we should be doing, that we should be like Joseph and be helpful and caring, but he is showing the leadership of Christ,
Oh, yeah.
who came as a spiritual king,
No
and
doubt.
yet he was humble. He was a young boy, but he was crucified,
Mhm.
and he did not say one word.
Right.
So, I mean, Jesus truly emulates the
Absolutely.
life of Joseph, and Joseph forecast the life of Christ.
Think about all these things that we've read in Isaiah over this last however long about the Messiah. But all these powerful things, I mean, all this incredible stuff about what the Messiah is and who he is and what he's going to do. And yet he was willing to be crucified. You think about all that information. And you look at Joseph and you see Joseph following the pattern of leadership, which is rather than, and some might say he's abusing his power by sending these boys home and their money in the bag and all that stuff. No, he's not. If he was abusing his power, he'd have killed all 10 of these boys when they walked in the door. I mean, he would have leveled. If he would have reacted the way most humans would have reacted, he would have leveled them boys when they walked through the door and said, "That I finally got what I wanted. I wanted to bury you 10, and I got it."
That was just the power of God working through.
Absolutely. It's a man who understands God's more important than even his earthly relationships. So God has put him in this position. He's going to make sure that he doesn't let God down in the way that he performs this position, which is going to come in play at the end, right? But here in 44, 1 through 13, I don't have time to read it all. I'm about out of time as it is. 1 through 13 is the final test, right? So he has the boys there, and he sends them home with food. But this time, not only does he put the money back in their bags, what does he do? He puts the cup in Benjamin's bag. Now, what's that gonna do? A thief, and what's the punishment for a thief in that day? They're gonna kill you. You stole from the monarch.
It terrifies them, but Benjamin's gonna be the one that gets you.
Look at 12, verse 12, chapter 44, verse 12. He searched, beginning with the eldest, ending with the youngest. The cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes. Now watch this. Now who promised to deliver Benjamin there and back? Judah, right? Judah said, "I will make sure." But look at what verse 13 tells you. Who went back? Every single one of them. Because it has set in on them. If we don't go back and plead and beg for this boy, it'll kill our dad. So every man loaded his donkey and they returned to the city. Now, verse 14 tells you Judah and his brothers, right? Because Judah's the man. Judah said, "I'm going to make sure this boy gets there and back." And now Judah says, I got to take the brunt of this. So look at what happens in verse 14. Joseph's still in his house, so they go back to the house. What happens at the end of verse 14? Again, just in case they didn't get the symbolism the first time. Now they do it again. And I have to wonder if this isn't God making sure Joseph gets the picture, and after the fact, the boys get the picture. Because we read how many different dreams come to the one chief, and the sun and the moon and the stars bowing down to Joseph. Okay, so just in case they didn't get it with the first time, we're going to do it twice, because I told you 2 different dreams. Here's 2 different times these boys said. You get to 24. When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him the words of my Lord. When our father said, "Go again, buy us a little food," we told him, "We cannot go down. If our youngest brother goes with us, then we can go down. We cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us." Then your servant, my father, said to us, listen to this, "You know that my wife bore me 2 sons." Nothing in there by accident. Notice he didn't say my first wife, the second wife, the third wife. My wife. Because Jacob loved Rachel more. My wife bore me 2 sons. One left me, and I said, surely he's back. Bless his heart. I love him. Jacob couldn't turn loose of the fact that maybe, just maybe, by the slightest sliver, he's out there somewhere. But I've never seen him again. I don't have his body to bury, and I've never seen him again. Man, you talk about some, whoo, that'll weigh on you as a daddy. Whew. Not only did I never get to see him again, but I didn't get to bury a body. I never saw him again. If you take this one also from me and harm happens to him, you'll bring down my gray hairs and evil to Sheol. In other words, I don't even know if I'm going to go to heaven. Y'all are going to bring me down to evil if something happens to this boy. Now, this is the story they're telling Joseph, right? Okay. Verse 1 of chapter 45. This is where I'll hush. What happens? He can't. He has, that's it. Why? Because of what they told him about his dad. You think about Joseph hearing those words.
About himself.
About himself.
Said about himself.
Woo! You're talking about goosebumps, man. I can't imagine being Joseph standing there and these boys who sold me into slavery. You got one of them almost in tears at this point who says, look, my dad told me I got a boy that I'll never see again. I haven't seen him. Something happened to him. I didn't even have a body to bury. And if something happens to this boy, y'all are going to put me in an evil place. And my body is I'm going to die. And Joseph hears all that. Go ahead.
Basically, it will kill our dad.
Mm-hmm.
Our father.
We love our dad. And this is going to kill him. Now, please, look at verse 34, the last verse of chapter 44. How can I go back to my father if the boy's not with me? I fear to see the evil that would find my father. That's it. That's the breaking point, isn't it? Joseph can't take that anymore. Kill me. Now think about it. Let that sink in. Golly, I'm out of time. Man. Think about that for a second. Judah says, look, I know what would happen if I die. If you kill me, my dad's fine. He'd be upset. But truthfully, he'd be okay because Benjamin at least would be back. But you got to kill me. You can't kill that boy because if you kill that boy, that'll kill him.
Or I'll stay and be a slave.
Judah said, I'll do anything. You just tell me what you want me to do. Because my dad would be okay with, you understand the sentiment. It's not necessarily that he hates Judah. It's just Judah says, look, my dad's okay. He's going to live and things will be okay if I stay here. And Benjamin goes home. But if Benjamin doesn't go home, that's it. I'm going to beg Alex to let me finish next week. If he'll give me one more week, I think I can get done. I'm going to beg him. I'm going to beg him. It's too good to not get to the end because there's a lot of stuff still left to cover at 45. And then once you get to 50, man, there's some great stuff. I got to hush. Y'all put in a good word for me. I appreciate that. Thank you.